Okay, so let's start with the training. So basically, this is the training on the report writing. Though I understand that most of the report writing is generally done.
Arun, you are not audible.
Reports, and it's very important and useful that articles also to learn reports, so that uh, there's a better chance that you also groom these skills, and which will be helpful to your team leaders also, as you'll be sharing these reports with them for finalization. So, it's like a hot topic, the report writing. And I really feel that this is something which is very much required for us to continue to learn this skill. So it's not that in today's one session, we can learn everything about the report writing. And from tomorrow, we will feel, okay, I have become an expert in report writing. Today, the idea is that we will be touching upon some of the very basic aspects of report writing, which you all can understand and start implementing in right away. Uh, so to start with this presentation, as I go to the next slide, this slide talks about the objective of internal audit report and objective of this particular training. So, you all must be wondering that why is this training? Yeah, what is the need for this training? So each one of us write our reports, and each one of us are also like thoroughly involved in the audit. So the first objective of this writing the internal audit report is to write a very impactful report which can persuade the readers to take action. So, generally, when I would ask any internal auditor, why do they write reports? The first thing that can come to the mind is that we need to write reports because we want to tell the management what we have done. Or we want to tell the management that these were the issues, these were the recommendations from our side. And that's a general thought behind when we think about why we write report. But, it is the entire objective, the ultimate objective is not just to tell the management what we found. It is to persuade the management to take action, to motivate them so that they feel, okay, yes, this is something which I really need to change in my company. By changing this particular aspect, this will have a lot of savings for mine and self. This will really strengthen the processes which are there in the company. So the reason is that we must really think that in the mind while writing the reports, that we must really write the reports with this feeling that I must motivate my audience to take action through this report. And another reason, why this training is important is so that we can learn how to write a high impactful report, how we can improve, enhance the impact of our internal audit reports. So it is not that currently the kind of reports that we are writing are not good. Of course, they are good reports. But the idea is that what can we learn more from today's training, which I can go back and implement in my internal audit report writing, which will improve the quality of my own report, so that there are less changes made by the next level. If you're an article, you should really feel that I must write this kind of a report. So there are very minimal changes which my team leader has to do or my manager has to do. Similarly, if you are a chartered accountant and executive level, you must really feel that I must write this kind of a report that when it goes to my manager, he should feel happy. Oh, there are very less changes I have to make. Yeah. So idea is that, let's take pride and ownership of writing a very impactful internal audit report. So the first question as we jump into today's training that may come is that why it is important to write this kind of a highly effective internal audit report. And this question may come up that why I should work on improving the quality of my report. I know how to do the audit. I can talk to the client. I can also do analysis. I'm very good at data analytics and I can work on the Excel. Why is there a need that I have to focus on writing the highly effective internal audit report? So I'll be sharing the answer to this from the two perspectives. The first perspective is about the client perspective. So if you think from the client's perspective, you are in the shoes of the client. Why is such a good report, internal audit report is required by the client? So of course, the first reason is for the management to get the insights into how the processes are functioning. So, when the people are working, management knows, okay, I have drafted the SOPs, or I know, okay, these are the practices being followed in my company, but they don't know whether those processes are correct or not. Or even if they have defined those processes on ground in reality, whether these processes are actually followed or also or not. So this is the reason why the report should be so impactful, because management is really looking forward to this report. This also gives an insight to the management that what are the controls required to mitigate those risks. So whether the existing controls are adequate or not. And so this gives them the idea about how good this function is performing. They can compare, okay, this is the finance function, this is the HR function, this is the procurement function. Like how many observations are coming? How are they improving from the last time? So I think this also helps the management to understand how each department is performing. And when the MIS, which is coming to the management, this will also give them an idea, okay, how reliable is this MIS? Because they know the controls are there, so the figures which are coming might be accurate. At the same time, this gives a lot of assurance to the management to take certain decisions, because the main role of the management is to take decisions for the business growth, and so they must really become aware about the clear picture. They must be really able to understand that what is actually happening on the ground, so that the decisions they are taking should be for the benefit of the company, and also the decisions which they have already taken, whether they are being followed on the ground or not, how that has impacted the people in the ground level, in reality, in terms of operations. So this is from the client's perspective, why the writing such an impactful report is important. Also, we are writing report for the client. There's also a reason why we must write a very beautiful, wonderful report from the auditor's point of view. Because, the report reflects the performance of the team. So no matter how much hard you have worked, or no matter you have spent days and nights, or you have daily you are working till 1 at night, you are working till 2 o'clock, you have been really researching, you are doing really good work, you are very, very proactive, you are talking to the client. But ultimately, all the hard work that you do is reflected in the internal audit report. So, when somebody is reading the report, they'll be able to understand that whether you have actually gone into the depth or not, whether you have covered all the areas or not, what is the quality of your audit work is reflected in the internal audit report. So, in the school also, no matter how good you are in math, no matter how good you are in science, and no matter how attentive you are in the class, ultimately it is a report card which tells you whether you were good or not. So similarly, you cannot go and justify to your parents, oh no, I have really worked hard, this result is not right and all. So similarly, the client or your manager will only understand the quality of your work if the quality of your report is 10%. It is really, really impeccable. So how we can write this kind of an incredible report which can also reflect on your performance? So this, I think, is very important to understand that, because, what is in black and white on the paper is more important than what is in your head. You may have understood the issue. You may understand how this issue is so important, and you are also able to explain this to the client. But remember, if you're not able to articulate that in black and white on paper, then nobody will understand that what is there in your head. Only you know. At times, you will also understand that you are writing so much. You have written so much. You understand when you read the report, but when you give that same report to somebody else, that person is not able to understand the head or tail of what you actually want to convey. So it's very important to be able to understand these things that we are going to be understanding today. Because, there's a say which says that it's not what you say, but also how you say is that counts. So your writing style is very, very important. How you are writing the report, what is the style of your writing is also very, very important. So, but at the same time, no style can actually overtake the auditor's performance. If you have not worked hard, hmm, even though you may try to write a very flowery language in the report, but there will be no depth in the report. So both are important. The audit work that we have done should be very, very, very thorough, very, very solid. That should reflect in the internal audit report. So, with this, I think let's jump into understanding that this is the end result of your hard work. You have really put a lot of hard work in the audit. You have burned your midnight oil, you sweat and toil while working, but this is the end result. This is how somebody will understand what is the value you are creating for the organization. So that's why I think in the first slide, I just wanted to give the context, set the background, so that you understand the importance of writing a very, very impactful internal audit report. So since some articles are also there, so, I'm just showing in this particular slide very briefly that I'm talking about an observation. So, when we write an observation, there is a heading to the observation. As you can see on the screen, the inconsistent planning in taking second and third print runs is the heading. And then there is an observation that we are detailing. And sometimes there are also small snapshot in the observation, as you can see, the small table which is there in the observation. The entire thing is the observation. Next to the observation on the right-hand side, you can see on the top that there is a risk. Then there is a root cause. Then there is a recommendation and the management action plan. And who is responsible for this management action plan? And what is the target completion date for this management action plan? So, these are some of the things that we capture while doing while writing the internal audit observation. So why this is important? Because when you are doing even the audit, you must think about the risk first. You must think to identify the root cause. It is not that I have found this observation, but we must also find out what is the root cause. Because the biggest challenge comes that we don't think about all these things while writing the report or while doing the audit. And on the last day, at a late night, when we have to submit the report to our manager or to the client, and then we are typing throughout the last night, oh, what is the risk? What is the recommendation? I have not thought about the root cause. So if you are aware that all these things needs to be captured in the internal audit report, so even while you are performing the audit, you will make sure that you understand these things at that point of the time. It is not that you have to think about these things only when you are writing a report. Even when you are doing the audit, you need to really, really make sure that you have all these things in place. So with this basic, now let's get into how to start writing audit observation. What are the steps required to start writing the audit observation? This is very important. From here, please pay attention. A lot of interesting things are going to come now. So, the first step and the most important step before you even jump into writing the report or the audit observation is to plan. Planning is the first step always. So you need to start planning, because most of the time what I have observed and what I've seen is that whenever you want to write the audit report, you just think about the heading and you start typing, okay, this is what I want to write. But it's very important to crystallize your thoughts first. Take a pen, take a paper, and in a very brief, we must write down what exactly you want to convey in this internal audit observation that you...
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Sorry to interrupt, sir, but actually, can you put the slide on full screen mode? Actually, some content are not actually visible.
Is that visible now?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So, the first step is to plan. And as I was saying, when I say plan, even before you start writing in your head, in your mind, you should become absolutely clear what exactly you are going to write. So that's why I follow this technique, which is a very, very famous technique called a mind map. I'm not sure if any one of you have heard about this before. You can do a little research about this. So this tool is called a mind map. This is nothing. This helps you to sort your mind, or this helps you to organize your thoughts that you want to capture. And so I have given one example on the right-hand side. If you see where there's a box which says, in the blue, it says non-moving inventory. So let's say if I have to write an observation on the non-moving inventory, that the inventory was not moving for a very, very long time. Now, before I start writing the observation directly, I must take out 5 minutes before writing the observation to become very clear and precise. What is that I want to write in the observation? What should come first? What should come second? What should come third? What should be the flow of the observation which I have to write? To give you an example here, if you see, the first thing I may want to think in my mind is what should be the heading. और मैं क्या heading डालूं जिससे कि वो पता लगे इस observation में क्या आना चाहिए, which can convey exactly what I want to convey, which is the crux, the heart of my observation. And the heading is absolutely very important. Whenever you read newspaper also, or you read any book, you read any article, you will always see the heading says everything. It is the gist of what we are going to study. It is the gist of what is there in the details, in the content. So everyone will, the first focus in the audit observation will go to the heading. Everyone would like to read the heading first. So give a detailed thought on what should be the heading. What should I write in the heading which conveys my exact issue? So at the same time, the heading should not be very a negative heading. It should be very positive heading. We should not write, okay, there's a fraud which is happening. Or I'm not just directly jumping into a conclusion in my heading and saying, okay, everything is going wrong. We can say, okay, the inventory process needs to be strengthened or needs improvement. So something which is positive for the client to read. Because imagine if the heading itself is so alarming, when the reader, the auditee is reading the report, he will become very defensive. He will not even like to go into the details of what you have written, just looking at the heading itself. So the heading should be very positive, which is conveying the facts, which is conveying the root cause, which needs to be addressed, and the main issue which is there. So, of course, we will cover this in detail later in the presentation, but this is just a gist. So on a pen and paper, you can create this kind of a map where you are thinking, okay, what should be my heading? Then you are thinking, okay, I must first write the existing process. कि अभी ये होता है. तो existing process में भी मैं क्या-क्या बताऊं? Like for example, I may say कि SOP कहता है कि quarterly review होना चाहिए. Then I'll say when the physical verification is happening, then the stores department should also be present, finance department should also be present. And maybe the process also says that the physical verification will be done once a year and the 50% sample will be selected. So whatever is given in the SOP or whatever is the practice that is being followed in that particular process, we mention that first. After that, you may think, okay, I also have to tell to the client, because my client may be thinking, okay, this is the process. Then what is the sample that you have checked? What is the audit period which you have checked? What is the percentage of the sample that you have checked? In many cases, I think mentioning the percentage is very important because that gives you the impact. For example, I may say 13 crores, but I don't know whether this is 1% of the total inventory, this is 50% of the total inventory, or this is 10% of the total inventory. So sometimes, if I mention the percentage of impact in the bracket, that also gives me what is the, how severe is the issue. What do you need to do? That immediate action is required or not? Is it a high risk? It is a medium risk for the client. Then you will see, you will also think, okay, I also need to give a snapshot. And snapshot में क्या क्या columns होने चाहिए. एक मैं years का column दे दूँगा. I will say, okay, below 6 months, and then 6 months to 1 year, then 1 year to 2 year. मेरे को amounts का column आना चाहिए. मुझे INR लिखना होगा. So you are already thinking about this. Then you're thinking about what should be the root cause. You're thinking, अच्छा ये हुआ था, ये हुआ था, ये हुआ था. इन सब चीजों को अगर मैं साथ में लिखूं, what is the root cause of this? And then the annexure के बारे में last time आएगी where I will mention the annexure number. So so even if this is just a small, very very brief I've given, you can write more details into this. Even when you're writing the detailed observation, you need to write the flow should become very clear in your mind. To give you an example, when I talk about the flow, आप ऐसा नहीं कहोगे ना कि आप ये कहोगे कि 10 करोड़ का लॉस हो गया. आई एम नॉट स्टार्टिंग विद दिस. 10 करोड़ का लॉस हो गया. आपका एग्जिस्टिंग प्रोसेस ये कहता है मैंने ये देखा, फिर मैंने ये वाला सैंपल रन किया. नहीं, बिकॉज ऑर्डर क्या होगा, सबसे पहले आप बताओगे ये आपका प्रोसेस होता है. मैंने ये सैंपल देखा, उस सैंपल में मुझे ये फैक्ट्स दिखे. इन फैक्ट्स को जब मैंने फर्दर एनालाइज किया तो मुझे दिखा कि उसकी वजह से कंपनी में ये नुकसान हो रहा है. और ये इम्पैक्ट यहाँ तक आ सकता है. ये आपकी वर्किंग कैपिटल ब्लॉक हो रही है, इन्वेंट्री अगर मूव नहीं हो रही, वो जब मैं कैलकुलेट कर रहा हूँ तो उससे आपकी कंपनी को 24 लाख की का पोटेंशियल लॉस है. एंड देन यू शो द स्नैपशॉट. सो थिंक, अगर कोई फर्स्ट टाइम पढ़ रहा है, उसकी माइंड में वो फ्लो समझ में आएगा नहीं आएगा. सो व्हेन यू मेक अ माइंड मैप, यू आर एक्चुअली राइटिंग डाउन द फ्लो. मेरे को सबसे पहले ये लिखना है, उसके बाद मैं ये लिखूंगा, उसके बाद मैं ये लिखूंगा, उसके बाद मैं ये लिखूंगा. सो द फ्लो बिकम्स एब्सोल्युटली क्लियर इन योर माइंड. So this mind map, you can make it on a pen and paper, or if you want, like I sometimes also use a tool. So this tool I have given on the bottom of this page. It's a free tool. You can also download from the web, from the Google, the Wondershare Mind Master. It's a free mind map, so you can just download it and see if you are it is convenient for you to use. So if you are very tech savvy and you want to do it on the system, you can do it on the system, or even if you want to use a pen and paper in a conventional way, that is also fine. But the idea is to plan, whether you do it on the tool or you do it on a pen and paper, but just don't start writing the observation. Take time to plan and chunk it down. So what do I mean by when I say chunk it down? Chunk it down means breaking into smaller pieces. So होता क्या है, कई बार when you are starting to write an observation, you can feel overwhelmed. You will feel कि पता नहीं मैं कहाँ से शुरू करूँ, मेरे को क्या क्या कवर करना है. कई बार वो इतना you may feel a stress about writing an observation. So your mind, so many thoughts will come at one time that you will really feel confused कि what to write first, what to write next. So important to chunk it down, break it down. What do I mean? Let's say मैंने यहाँ पे non-moving inventory लिखा, तो मैंने पहले लिखा headache. So next, let's say 30 seconds or 1 minute, I'm thinking only about the headache. So I'm not thinking about the audit period. I'm not thinking about anything else, but I'm only thinking about what should be the headache. So when I one of the saying, it says, how will you eat the elephant? इतने बड़े हाथी को कैसे खाओगे? It says, one bite at a time. So sometimes I feel मेरे को ये भी करना है, मेरे को 20 observation बनानी है, या इस observation में मुझे इतना कुछ लिखना है. And if you have so many thoughts in the mind, you will feel so stressed and overwhelmed that when you start writing, you will not be able to present it clearly. So if you make a mind map and you break those thoughts, you chunk it down, then okay, next 30 seconds or 1 minute, let me only think about the headache. Now heading is done. Okay, let me go to the second step. What is the existing process? Then you only start thinking about the existing process. Next 1 minute, I am focusing on nothing else, but only thinking about what is the existing process, which is there in their SOP. So this is the way, this technique is very helpful. You can use even for the other things. Let's say if you have to make a presentation. So you may think, overwhelmed, oh my God, I have to make a presentation. It is going to be 30 pages presentation. Or हम start करने से पहले डर जाते हैं and we are not able to take the first step at time. But if you take, okay, as a first step, पहले मैं सोचता हूँ कि मुझे presentation के अंदर क्या क्या कवर करना है. मेरे को ऑब्जेक्टिव कवर करना है, मेरे को क्या क्या गलतियां करते हैं लोग वो कवर करना है, अब या कैसे इम्प्रूवमेंट करें वो कवर करना है. यू ब्रेक इट डाउन, देन यू पिक अप द फर्स्ट पीस एंड आप सोचो कि चलो अब नेक्स्ट 10-15 minutes, let me not worry you later, let me only focus on the first slide, or let me focus only on what do I need to convey the first slide. And next 15 minutes, when you're focusing only and only on that first slide, you will realize that your focus will become very clear. And you will not feel overwhelmed because okay, this is the only thing that you need to do right now. You don't have to worry about the other thing. So try chunking it down as a technique. The next thing which I've written, when you are planning, you should become very clear about your facts, your figures, and the impact. It is not that you have to, mostly आप देखोगे हमने स्टार डाल देते हैं, सोचते हैं बाद में कैलकुलेट करके मैं इसमें डाल दूँ. It's very important that you should have those figures in the hand so that you can actually derive a meaning out of that. Like, is it a very significant figure or it is a very small figure? And whether this observation should be the first observation or not. Maybe language strong way or mild way depends on those facts and figures. It's important that it should have a facts. It is not that what you assume. It is not कि मेरे को लगता है कि ये गड़बड़ चल रही है कंपनी में. No, we have, as an auditor, we have to talk about the facts. कि जब मैंने देखा तो मुझे ये मिला. This is the fact which is there. So very important to mention those facts, figures, and impact. And the next thing is to merge the issues. And this is, I think, many of us make a lot of mistakes here at times. हमें लगता है कि अगर मेरी ऑडिट रिपोर्ट 100 पेजेस की होगी, then I can showcase, देखो मैंने इतना काम किया. If I write 30 observations, then my partner will be very happy, my client will be very happy. But trust me, that's a mistake. Nobody would like to read a very, very lengthy audit report. If I can present the issues which have the same root cause together, if I can merge the issues, make it concise, it is better acted upon. People will like to read that report. People will like to act on that report. But if it's a very bulky report, very heavy report, it will be very difficult for someone to take action on that. You need to read, someone has to really focus, they will procrastinate. Oh, it's a multi-report, I pardon about. But if it's a very small report, they think, okay, I have 15 minutes, I have half an hour in my hand, I can just quickly browse through this report. And you are able to express those issues very clearly. So, merging the issues is very important. Because कई बार आपने देखोगे, you have created 3 observations, but ultimately वो तीनों observations का जो root cause है, जो वो कहना चाहते हैं, वो एक ही चीज है. To give you an example, let's say मैंने एक observation बनाई of a non-moving inventory. कि मैंने देखा कि 30 lakhs की inventory non-moving है. ये मेरी एक observation है. मैंने second observation अपनी report में बनाई कि जो non-moving inventory थी, उसके against में purchases भी हो रहे हैं. That's your second observation. फिर आपने third observation बनाई कि उसमें से इतने expired पड़े हुए. हमने ये नोट करा कि एक्सपायर मतलब 70% of the material has got expired. This is the third observation. Imagine ये तीनों ऑब्जर्वेशन का एक ही तो रूट कॉज है कि कोई भी रिव्यू नहीं कर रहा इन्वेंट्री को. And if you can link these issues together, you can make it ABC, but put it under the one observation where it was talking about that the inventory की planning में issue है या inventory के review में issue है. या कोई भी मॉनिटर ही नहीं कर रहा नॉन मूविंग इन्वेंट्री को, जिसकी वजह से ये इशू नंबर 1 है, ये इशू नंबर 2 है, ये इशू नंबर 3 है. एंड दीज आर ABC टुगेदर इन द वन ऑब्जर्वेशन. So, if I read these together, it has more solid impact on the mind of the auditee than the three observations. अब वो पहली ऑब्जर्वेशन पढ़ेगा, अच्छा मतलब उसको लगेगा ये मीडियम है. सेकेंड ऑब्जर्वेशन पढ़ेगा, उसको लगेगा ये लो है. थर्ड पढ़ेगा, लगेगा मीडियम है. But if you see all these three together, you will see this is actually a high risk observation. So that's why you will want to categorize that also high risk, because together these observations are having a very, very severe impact. And आपको लगेगा जो आप recommendation देना चाहते हो मैनेजमेंट को, वो भी सारे root cause भी same है, recommendation भी same है. So why do you make three observations? Why can't I merge them and make one single observation? So, the number of observation will not decide what is your quality. The way you have written those observations will decide your quality. And the last point in the planning, I'll say, please analyze your audience. And it's very, very important. Like, who is going to be reading your report? And how much do they already know about that subject? So, अगर आप सोचो आप जीएसटी के ऊपर कुछ ऑब्जर्वेशन लिख रहे हो एंड आपको लगता है कि कोई डिफरेंट डिपार्टमेंट के को वो ऑब्जर्वेशन पढ़ेगा, आपको लगेगा उसको पता होगा, आप एज्यूम करोगे कि उसको पता है शायद जीएसटीआर 9 क्या होता है, जीएसटीआर 3B क्या होता है, जीएसटीआर 2 क्या होता है, आप एज्यूम करोगे. अगर वो फाइनेंस एंड अकाउंट्स का हेड पढ़ रहा है या फाइनेंस एंड अकाउंट्स का कोई पर्सन पढ़ रहा है, शायद उसको पता होगा. सो बट देखो कि सब सिनेरियो जहाँ पे शायद इनको पता ही नहीं होगा कि आप जो लिख रहे हो उसका क्या मतलब. और इफ योर ऑडियंस इज द टॉप मैनेजमेंट, दे विल नॉट नो व्हाट इज द प्रोसेस बीइंग फॉलोड ऑन द ग्राउंड. तो शायद आपको वो प्रोसेस भी एक्सप्लेन करना हो. बट अगर प्रोसेस होना नहीं पड़ रहा है और मैं ये सोच रहा हूँ कि अच्छा ये प्रोसेस होना रहा है, इसको तो पता ही है ऑब्जर्वेशन, इसको तो पता ही है क्या प्रोसेस फॉलो होता है, मुझे लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है, देन आई विल नॉट राइट. But if you know who is your audience who is going to read this observation, you will write the observation accordingly. And you know how they will, who's the audience, how they will be using this report, or whether they are actually interested in this report also or not. What is the reaction they are going to have when they are going to read this report. So when you think about the audience, you will also think, okay, मेरे को क्या-क्या cover करना चाहिए अपने observation में, कितने details डालने चाहिए. Do I need to explain something, or do I need to add some more things so that the other person can understand? Or I know the other person, मुझे purchase order क्या होता है ये समझाने की जरूरत नहीं है. I know the other person understand what is purchase order, and everyone in the company understand purchase order. So as a first year article, you may think, okay, शायद मेरे को तो अभी पता लगा purchase order ये होता है, and I should write and explain that. But your audit team doesn't need to know that, because he already knows that. You don't have to mention that in your report. So that's why I think it's very important to plan this before you write, because then you know मेरे को किस language में लिखना चाहिए. I hope till now it is okay, it is clear. So now we come to the second thing that we need to do while writing the observation is don't neglect the basics. So many a times बहुत basic चीजें होती है जो हम neglect कर देते हैं, and which cannot be overlooked. The first thing is to keep it very, very short. The sentences that we are using should be very short. The thumb rule is that the sentence should not exceed 15 to 18 words, ideally. कई बार आप देखोगे बहुत लंबे लंबे sentences लिख देते हैं लोग, एंड उस सेंटेंसेस का कभी मीनिंग ही समझ नहीं आता. हम एक ही सेंटेंस के अंदर बहुत सारी चीज़ें को ऐड करते रहते हैं. मे बी वो सेंटेंस के 2 सेंटेंसेस बन सकते हैं, बट हम उनको इकट्ठे जोड़ के लिख देते हैं, एंड इट बिकम्स अ वेरी वेरी लॉन्ग सेंटेंस एंड वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर समवन टू अंडरस्टैंड. सो the thumb rule is to not exceed more than 15 to 18 words, and to write it to the point, or don't beat around the bush. Very, very specific. You do not repeat certain things. You don't have to write 4 or 5 times that no one is reviewing the non-moving inventory. Write it once, it is conveyed. So avoid unnecessary elaboration. Sometimes we may elaborate certain things which can be understood by the auditee very easily. So whatever you think, any word, any idea, any sentence, which is not contributing directly to the point that you are mentioning, consider eliminating that point. If it is not adding any value to the facts that you are mentioning, it is better you eliminate it. You don't write it. Because, too much information also sometimes overwhelms the quality. You may feel, okay, I don't know, this is such a heavy observation. So, how crisp we can write so that the other person can understand is an art. So, let's practice that. The second thing is to, in the report, and sometimes the mistake that we do is, sometimes we are not very consistent with the terminologies that we may use. To give you one example, like sometimes we may use the word personal department, and somewhere we will use the word HR department. दोनों का मतलब एक ही है, but I need to be consistent. अगर मैं personal department use कर रहा हूँ तो मैं हर जगह personal department use करूँगा. अगर मैं HR department use कर रहा हूँ तो मैं हर जगह HR department use करूँगा. So similarly, mistake sometimes we do. हम कुछ figures को crores में बताते, कुछ फिगर को lakhs में बताते हैं, कुछ फिगर को thousands में बताते हैं. Then there is no consistency in the report. कई बार हम annexure 1 को italics में लिखते हैं, कई बार annexure 1 को हम non italics में लिखते हैं, annexure 2 को. So whatever the font also you use should be consistent. Whatever the terminologies that you use should also be very, very consistent in the report. अगर आप purchase order dump लिख रहे हो तो हर जगह परचेज ऑर्डर डाउन बाय, मतलब दैट यू हैव रिव्यूड द परचेज ऑर्डर डाउन. लाइक आपने परचेज ऑर्डर डेटा लिखा है, परचेज ऑर्डर डेटा वर्ड यूज कर, बट कीप इट कंसिस्टेंट थ्रूआउट द रिपोर्ट. द थर्ड मिस्टेक, sometimes we neglect these basics, we start writing in the passive voice. So a passive voice is generally very dumb. It's very, very boring to read, and nobody likes to read like in the passive voice. I'm sure each one of you who have studied English in school, so you know the difference between active voice and the passive voice. So active voices are like, I am making a presentation, and the passive voice is the presentation is made by me. So it's a little complicated to understand the passive voice. So it's better rather than writing that based on the information available, no irregularity in the operation was found. It's a passive voice. Someone has to apply his mind. It is not very easy to read. Rather, I can say the audit team did not find any evidence of irregularity in the available information. So when I can write something direct and straight, keeping the object in the front, that is better. It is easy to understand. So don't try to make it very complicated by using a passive voice. Avoid that. And sometimes you will see, और बड़ी गलती क्या करते हैं, sometimes I'm using active voice, and then in the next sentence I start using the passive voice. Then I start using the active voice. That is also wrong. So better, I think, just keep it consistent and straightforward. Always write a report in your active voice. And use a very simple language. So when I say language, कई बार हमें लगता है if I write a very difficult word, if I write something which is very, very complicated, I will get a pat on my back. Somebody will say, अरे वाह, क्या grammar use करिए, क्या vocabulary use करिए. See, the idea is not to showcase your vocabulary. The idea is the person should be able to understand the observation in a simple language. It should be clear, very direct, and the familiar language which we use in day-to-day normal writing of the report. Of course, it cannot be like casual. It cannot be casual. It has to be professional, but very familiar language, very simple language. So, because if you express like something very, very in a difficult terms, the person may not feel interested in your idea. Like you can either express a very big idea in a small words, or otherwise you may try to explain a very small idea using a very, very big word. That doesn't work. So important that your writing, the language should be very persuasive and simple, easy to read, easy to understand. A plain language sells better. Hmm? So, so let's avoid any technical jargon that you may use. And I've written a gender neutral term. Don't write he or she. So we met the department person. He said this. Uh, don't use like the terms like that. So avoid any use gender neutral terms. Don't write he or she in the report. Unless it is very specific to a person that you actually want to convey and mention something about it. The next point, I think in the basics is to make your best idea stand out. Sometimes हम इतना कुछ लिख देते हैं that एक्चुअल में जो रियल एसेंस है उस ऑब्जर्वेशन का वो क्लियर ही नहीं होता. So it's very important to make the observation very clear. You can write down the subheadings and you can make them bold. Some of the things you may put in italics. Some of the figures which are very, very alarming figures, you can make them bold. You can use the tables. You can use some colors. You can use some charts. You can put some pictures to make your best idea stand out. And better to use bullet points. हम कई बार बहुत बड़े बड़े पैराग्राफ्स लिख देते हैं and it is very difficult to read so much language. Idea, whatever you want to convey, put bullets. Now, point number 1, this is the bullet. Point number 2, this is the bullet. Point number 3, this is the bullet. It's very important to present it in a way so that the other person don't have to figure out while reading everything आप कहना क्या चाहते हो. The moment he looks at the observation, he can figure out, okay, yes, this is what you want to convey. So let your best idea stand out. The next thing is that your observation should be very objective. Objective का मतलब है इसको don't take it very personally. कि मेरे को उसने डॉक्यूमेंट्स नहीं दिए. अब तो मैं ऐसा लिखूंगा कि मतलब उसका मैनेजर उसकी की डांट लगाए. Not like that. You must state the facts clear. Don't put assumptions कि मेरे हिसाब से मुझे लगता है कि ये इतनी बड़ी गड़बड़ हो सकती है. Mention the facts. कि मैंने 10 सैंपल देखे, 10 में से 10 के 10 गलत निकले. ये लिख सकते हैं. But don't try to write that everything in the company is going wrong. Everything in the department is going wrong. So don't be biased. You need to write unbiased report, impartial report, which is very fair and objective at that point of time. Another, I think, very important point is the tone and balance in the report. I think बहुत सारे बार मैंने नोट करा है, the client comes back and tell you, यार मैं एग्री करता हूँ जो आपने लिखा है, ये गलती है, बट जिस तरीके से आपने लिखा है ना, ऐसा लग रहा है कंपनी में सब गलत हो. आप थोड़ी अपनी लैंग्वेज को ठीक कर, अपनी टोन को टोन डाउन कर. सो टोन हमें ऐसे भी नहीं लिखने की कुछ कंफ्यूजन आ जाए किसी के माइंड में, कोई क्रिटिकल चीज है वो समझ ही ना आए, और नॉन क्रिटिकल चीज को इस तरीके से लिख रहा हूँ कि ऐसे लगे कि बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है कंपनी में. It can mislead the person. It can create a dispute. ऑडिटर आपसे लड़ना शुरू हो जाएगा कि आपने ऐसा लिख कैसे दिया. आपके फैक्ट्स को भी फिर वो एग्री नहीं करेगा. So at times, I'm not saying you have to tone down if something is critical, but the point is write it in a way that it is not creating a problem for the other person. You what defensive was. It is not something you want to blame the other person, deliberately writing such language. So choose your words wisely. Choose your language wisely. Understand what is your reader looking forward to. Next, I think the last thing जो हम बहुत बड़ी गड़बड़ कर देते हैं is all the spelling and grammar. And I think ये हम सबको लगेगा यार बहुत छोटी चीज़ है. लाइक एक स्पेलिंग की तो गलती है, ग्रामर ठीक नहीं है, बट मेरे को इशू तो मैं लिख रहा हूँ. सो sometimes I think it is okay to make a grammatical errors, to make the spelling mistakes, but this doesn't go well with the auditing. ऑडिटिंग को क्या लगेगा कि आप डिटेल ओरिएंटेड नहीं है, यू डोंट रीड योर ऑब्जर्वेशंस क्लियरली, आपने जल्दी में लिख दिया. सो the effort, the hard work that you have put in doing the audit will not get conveyed If you are making so many errors, आप ही imagine करो, अगर if you are the boss of some company, and if somebody is giving you a proposal, and you receive or you are receiving a resume, and there are so many grammatical errors in that resume or in that proposal, what is the kind of the opinion you will form of the other person? And you will think twice whether I should even call this person for the interview or not, or whether I should call this vendor for the proposal or not. The same goes for the audit report. You know, sometimes these spelling mistakes, punctuation mistakes will also be there, which can give a impression to the auditee that the auditor is not detail oriented. और worse चीज क्या हो जाएगी, उससे लगेगा he is not even careful about his work. He is very careless, and that is the last thing that you would want to hear from the auditor. Imagine he doesn't want to look at the observation, says कि इसमें तो spelling errors है, पहले ठीक करके लिख कर आओ. If he wants to take revenge from you. I'm sure some of you would have gone through and faced such a scenario. So, it's very important, to not to pay attention to such details also, so that your credibility is not questioned in front of the auditor. So don't ignore these basics. And one thing which I wanted you to understand, like हम सभी grammar के mistakes करते हैं. So I have given two tools that you can refer, or two things that you can do. First is this tool which I mentioned, go prowriting8.com. So, I'll explain this on the next slide. So if you look at this slide, this is the sample from the prowriting8.com. So if you go to the Google and you go to this website, prowriting8.com, this is a free website. Whatever you are writing, after you have written that observation, if you copy that observation and paste in this tool will automatically give you the errors you have made in your spellings, in your grammar. If you can see on the screenshot which I have taken, this is telling you कि was में वर आना चाहिए था. And in the first line, so वहाँ पे आ रहा है, there are 3 grammar issues found on the left, 1 spelling issue found. एक spelling mistake भी आ गई, जैसे period की spelling गलत है. So this is also showing that this period की spelling गलत है. So it becomes so easy. Like you just have to copy that and paste it in this prowriting8.com. And आप कुछ और भी लिख लो. Even if you're writing an email, you can just copy and paste it there and see. कहीं में आपका sentence बहुत लंबे होंगे ना, तो ये style issues found में भी आ रहा है कि आपके sentences बहुत लंबे हैं. And they give you some suggestion कि आप इसको ऐसे change कर. So this is a wonderful tool you all can use to improve your English when you are writing, and to check that whatever you have written, I hope there are no basic grammar mistakes in that. Another thing, I'm coming back to the same slide at the last. I have given you a link of a YouTube on the tenses. So I will send you this presentation so you can later on click on this YouTube link and look at this video which talks about the tenses. You know what I have observed? कि कई बार हम अपनी ऑब्जर्वेशन में प्रेजेंट टेंस लिख रहे होते हैं, नेक्स्ट लाइन में पास्ट टेंस लिख देते हैं, कहीं पे प्लूरल्स की मिस्टेक कर देते हैं, कहीं पे एस लगा देते हैं. तो बहुत सारे बेसिक ग्रामर के एरर करते हैं. So this session that I'm taking is not to tell you about the grammar issues or help you to improve your grammar. उसके लिए if you require, we can do a separate session. But you can go to the YouTube, and maybe in the next 1 week I'll suggest you listen to these videos if you are the one who make lot of tenses error, or the error in the tenses while you are writing. So go and learn these tenses. This is just a 15-minute video if I'm not wrong, or maybe very how in this 10 or 15 minutes you can learn everything about the tenses, your past tense, present tense, future tense, what to use, what not to use. So very simple. I think please go whenever you have a free time, like you're traveling, you can just listen to this video, and maybe for the few days practice some of your grammar. And because it really gives a very bad impression to read a report with a lot of grammar issues. It means that you don't know the basic English. It is okay, and sometimes you all make mistakes. But idea is that even if you make mistakes, there's no problem. Go back and improve that. so that the next time when you write the report, you don't make these silly mistakes. So these are the two tools which you can use. Now, the third thing I wanted to convey, as per the Institute of Internal Auditors, they have mentioned that there should be 5 C's mentioned in the audit observation. When you are writing the audit observation, these 5 C's should be there. So what are these 5 C's? First is the criteria. The criteria means the correct state. What should exist? मतलब अपने आप से अगर हम ये क्वेश्चन पूछे ना, what should exist? क्या होना चाहिए था जो नहीं हुआ? What is the correct process? Ideal process. वो उसके ऑब्जर्वेशन के अंदर मेंशन होना चाहिए. कि एसओपी ये कहता है, पॉलिसी ये कहता है कि आइडियली ऐसा होना चाहिए, या इवन एसओपी नहीं है बट कंपनी की ये गुड प्रैक्टिस है जो वो इतने सालों से फॉलो कर रहे. सो दिस इज द आइडियल थिंग दैट शुड एग्जिस्ट. द सेकेंड थिंग दैट शुड कम देयर इज द कंडीशन, द करेंट स्टेट. मतलब व्हाट डज एग्जिस्ट. अपने आपसे ये क्वेश्चन अगर हम पूछे व्हाट डज एग्जिस्ट, अभी क्या एग्जिस्ट करता है. So you will understand, okay, ideal state ये था, but actual में ये हो. Ideally ये हर क्वार्टर में ऑडिट, हर क्वार्टर में इनको फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन करना चाहिए था, अभी ये once a year का. ठीक है. Then you come to the causes. ये क्यों हो रहा है? I think हमें सिर्फ फैक्ट्स नहीं बताना, हमें ये बताना क्लाइंट को बहुत जरूरी है कि ये क्यों हो रहा है. Like why somebody is not following SOP? Because शायद कोई मॉनिटर ही नहीं करना, कोई अगर चेक ही नहीं कर रहा कि ये फॉलो हो भी रहेगा नहीं हो रहा ऑन अ पीरियोडिक बेसिस, कोई रिव्यू ही नहीं करता इस चीज को. सो वी हैव टू go back to understand what is the root cause, what is the problem, why this symptom is there. Like for to give an example, let's say मेरा रोज सर दर्द होता है. Today I'm having a Disprin, next day I'm having a Crucin, or I'm having something else. Every day there is a headache which is happening. But मैं symptom है headache हो रहा है. But root cause है maybe I have an acidity issue. Maybe if I don't eat food after every 2 hours, I can get an acidity which can lead to this problem. So generally बड़ी अच्छा जो लोग follow करते हैं, हमें अपने आप से 5 बारी वाइब करना चाहिए. और यू मस्ट आस्क 5 times why this has happened. That will help you to go to the root cause of why this is happening. Like for example, बहुत basic example दूंगा. Long back we were doing the audit of one of the companies, and उसके अंदर था कि उनका पेंटिंग का कॉस्ट बहुत ज्यादा था. उनको अपनी बिल्डिंग्स को ना बाहर से बहुत फ्रीक्वेंटली हर 2 महीने में अपनी बिल्डिंग को बाहर से पेंट कराते. सो उसका एक्सपेंसेस बहुत हाई आ रहे. नॉर्मली यू में थिंक कि अच्छा हर 2 महीने में कौन पेंट कराता है, बट द रीजन, हमने पहली बार अपने आप से वाई पूछा उनसे कि ऐसा क्यों होता है, वाई डू यू हैव टू गेट इट पेंट. तो उन्होंने बताया था देयर आर लॉट ऑफ क्लोज अराउंड द फैक्ट्री, जिनकी वजह से लाइक व्हेन दे डू अ क्रोशेट तो पूरी दीवार हमारी खराब हो जाती है, एंड वी नीड टू गेट इट फाइन, गेट इट पेंटेड अगेन एंड अगेन. देन वी आस्क्ड देम द अगेन अ व्हाई. 5 times व्हाई पूछने के लिए बोला है ना. सो थिंक व्हाई द क्रोशेट इज हैपनिंग हियर, व्हाई देयर आर सो मेनी क्रोज देयर. देन वी फिगर्ड आउट दैट बिकॉज देयर आर सो मेनी ट्रीज अराउंड. उसके आसपास कुछ ऐसे ट्रीज है जिसपे क्रोज बैठते हैं. देन वी आस्क्ड व्हाई, कि ये पेड़ यहाँ पे है क्यों, कैसे आया. एंड दे रियलाइज कि वहां से लाइक वो मतलब अपनी मतलब जो लेबर है वो लेबर उन लाइक बोरियों को कैरी करते हैं जिसके अंदर सीड्स होते हैं. वो समटाइम वो सीड्स वहां पे गिर जाते हैं जिससे प्लांट्स उग जाते हैं और बहुत सारे क्रोज आ जाते हैं उन प्लांट्स को खाने. या देयर वाज सिनेरियो जहाँ पे वो काफी गंद मतलब जो फैक्ट्री का डिस्पोज कर देते हैं, वो गंद के अंदर समटाइम्स देयर इज आल्सो इंसेक्ट. तो लॉट इंसेक्ट्स का हमको खाने के लिए वो क्रोज आते हैं या उस गंद के ऊपर आते हैं बिकॉज ऑफ विच दैट इज हैपनिंग. सो it may sound very silly, but you need to go to the root cause of by asking why. Then when you get the answer, ask again why. then ask again why, at least 5 times. Huh? That will give you the answer that what is the real root cause, why this is happening. So then comes the fourth C, which is the consequence. You must also think, okay, इसकी वजह से company को क्या impact हो रहा है? Or what is the risk to the company? What is the negative outcome of this which can happen to the company? So अगर ये हो गया तो that should also come and we must pay attention to that. बहुत बारी हम इसको ध्यान ही नहीं देते and we just write it down. And the corrective action, the recommendation that we give. And this is very important because 50% of the weightage of our audit observation is also a recommendation. Because हम client को ये तो बता रहे हैं आप एक गलती कर रहे हो, पर उस गलती को कैसे ठीक करना वो हमारा काम है एज ए कंसल्टेंट. बहुत बारी हम उसको ध्यान ही नहीं दे रहे. We focus on writing the observation and the facts, but we don't give enough importance to the recommendation. On that, so we'll come to the recommendation later. कि हमें क्या क्या चीजों का ध्यान रखना चाहिए while writing a recommendation. So now to give you an example of these 5 C's, to give you an example, let's say there is a criteria हो गया कि एक no variation in the stock as per the physical verification and the stock register in the books. तो एक कंपनी का ये आइडियल प्रोसेस है कि जब भी वो स्टॉक रजिस्टर को देखे और फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन करे, उनके बीच में कोई वेरिएशन नहीं आना चाहिए. कंडीशन क्या होगी आप बताओगे कि जब मैंने फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन किया तो 2 यूनिट्स मुझे शॉर्ट मिले कंपेयर टू द स्टॉक रजिस्टर. क्या कॉजेस थे कि आपने जब वाई वाई करके कॉजेस सोचा, आपको पता लगा था इश्यूज विच वर मेड ड्यूरिंग द नाइट शिफ्ट वर नॉट रिकॉर्डेड. इस वजह से क्या हो रहा था, जो स्टॉक रजिस्टर में फिगर्स आ रही थी और जो एक्चुअल में थे उसमें डिफरेंस. फिर आपने सोचा कि इसका कॉन्सिक्वेंस क्या हो सकता है कि अगर वो रिकॉर्ड ही नहीं कर रहा तो स्टॉक पोजीशन इन द बुक इज ओवर स्टेटेड एंड द पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ द स्टॉक पिल्फरेज इज हाई ड्यू टू द लैक ऑफ कंट्रोल. फिर आपने सोचा करेक्टिव एक्शन मेरी रिकमेंडेशन क्या होनी चाहिए. अब देखो मैं रिकमेंडेशन बड़ी सिंपल से भी लिख सकता हूँ, कह सकता हूँ कि अच्छा आप इसका ध्यान रखा करो. इधर आई कैन से ओके इसको रात में रिकॉर्ड मत करो नाइट शिफ्ट में. इधर आई कैन से कि आप इस चीज का ध्यान दो. वो बहुत का superficial corrective action. It is not touching the root cause. The real problem को मतलब वो जो मेरी recommendation है वो hit करनी चाहिए. जिस root cause की वजह से ये हो रहा है, my recommendation should cater to that root cause. और to give you an example, यहाँ पे क्या हो सकता है? Night shift stock keeper needs to be appointed. अगर वो नहीं है, because अभी रात को कोई नहीं होता इसलिए कोई भी रिकॉर्ड नहीं करता. बट ऑल्टरनेटिवली अगर आप नाइट शिफ्ट का बंदा नहीं रखना चाहते, अगर इतने सारे केसेस नहीं है, देन यू डोंट वांट टू कीप अ पर्सन. ऑल्टरनेटिवली द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ द स्टॉक फॉर द नाइट शिफ्ट शुड बी इशूड एट द डे एंड एज पर द रिक्विजिशन ऑफ द प्रोडक्शन इन चार्ज फॉर द नाइट शिफ्ट. तो बड़ी प्रैक्टिकल रिकमेंडेशन. द कंजम्पशन ड्यूरिंग द नाइट शिफ्ट इज वेरीफाइड by counting in the morning the balance stock left out of the lot issued to the floor during the previous day's close. So imagine the observation, the recommendation is so precise that this is telling the auditee what to do going forward. And when you're saying like this, you will agree okay whether to follow this. And you are discussing on this with the client. Similarly, there is one more case study where these 5 C's are there, but I think this is very similar to what we have discussed, so I will avoid this. You can, when you receive the presentation, you can read this in detail. So now, and what are the essential things to be focused while writing an observation? Some of these we have also touched upon earlier, so I'll go through very quickly on this. First, the observation should be accurate. है ना, उसमें errors नहीं होने चाहिए. मतलब आई थिंक बहुत बारी ऐसा होता है हम ऑब्जर्वेशन बना के क्लाइंट के पास जाते हैं एंड हम कई बार ऑडिट कमिटी में भी प्रेजेंट कर रहे होते हैं, वहां पे सडनली इमेजिन समबडी कम्स एंड सेज इसके लिए ये तो गलत बता दो एंड ये तो फिगर गलत है. तो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, मतलब वो नीड टू बी वेरी श्योर दैट व्हाटएवर यू आर रिपोर्टिंग इन द रिपोर्ट should be accurate. It should not have any errors, and it should not be on some assumption. It should be very fact based and you have a supporting to report कि हाँ ये accurate है. Then those report ऑब्जर्वेशन शुड बी वेरी क्लियर, एक लॉजिकल होनी चाहिए, एक लैंग्वेज में जो आप लिख रहे हो। लाइक हम यू शुड क्लब दोज कॉमन इश्यूज जैसे हमने डिस्कस करा एंड गो इनटू द डेप्थ टू आइडेंटिफाई द इम्पैक्ट। मतलब आप सिर्फ जैसे ये बता रहे हो कि आपने सिर्फ ये लिख दिया कि रिकंसिलेशन नहीं होगा, GSTR 2 एंड 2A3B का रिकंसिलेशन नहीं हुआ, हाँ ये होना चाहिए, ये आपने रिकमेंडेशन दे, बट आपने इम्पैक्ट बताना जरूरी है कि ये रिकंसिलेशन के नहीं होने से हाँ क्या अमाउंट है जिसका हम क्रेडिट नहीं दे पा रहे या फिर हम वो ड्रॉ ऑफ नहीं कर पा रहे। सो आई मीन गो इनटू द डेप्थ ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग द इम्पैक्ट। इट शुड बी कंस्ट्रक्टिव। मतलब हमें क्लाइंट को इम्प्रूवमेंट बताना है, हमें क्लाइंट को सिर्फ ब्लेम्स नहीं करने उस ऑडिट ऑब्जर्वेशन के अंदर कि वो डिफेंसिव हो जाए। The audit fact should be complete। मतलब आधे अधूरी चीजें नहीं डाल। आपको एज्यूम नहीं करना कई चीजों में कि इसका मतलब तो ये है, वो समझ ही जाए। Sometimes you may have to mention and write the things which are complete. So audit facts that you are mentioning should be sufficient, appropriate, they should be very clear. Avoid any irrelevant facts and written in the clear and concise manner. Some of the things that we should avoid, don't say that the management should do this. Matlab, so don't use such words because, you know, sometimes they may not take it in the right spirit. So don't write it directly pointing out to some person that ki wo apna kaam hi galat kar rahe. Don't use some weasel word. Weasel word का मतलब है जैसे होता है ना, it seems that, like यहाँ पे मैं कह रहा हूँ कि ये आपकी कंपनी में ये हो रहा है और मेरा एजम्पशन है पूरी कंपनी में सब कुछ ही गलत है। So my impression is that the people are not working fine. I cannot write such statements because they are not supported by facts. I can say कि मेरे 10 का सैंपल चेक करा और 10 के 10 गलत निकले, but I cannot say कि इसमें परचेज प्रोसेस में हमेशा ही गड़बड़। My impression is it is never correct. So all the transactions done in last 1 year needs to be reviewed. I cannot say statements like this which are very generic. So use intensifier sparingly. मतलब don't use it too often. Sometimes हम बहुत जगहों पर मैं देखता हूँ very लिखा होता है, it's a way the impact is very large and it's very difficult to do this. बहुत बारी very word use करना है. Don't use it often. Use it sometimes to wherever you want to give some impact, but don't use it like हर word के starting with clearly this means this is there. Clearly they have not looked at this. This. So don't use the impact is significantly high. When we look at the sample, it was very significant. So don't use the words again and again. Don't make it universal. Nothing is right in the company. It has never happened. Always people are doing like this. Don't do a blame game. That management has failed to review this. They will, again, as I said, they will become very defensive. Don't use technical jargons. So the litmus paper test to check is that even if the 5th grade person is reading your report, you should at least be able to understand what you want to convey. Don't use such a technical language which nobody is able to understand. To give you an example, there is one funny sentence which I found in one of the reports and which I have mentioned here. So it's a very long sentence. As you would remember, I said the sentence should not have more than 15 words. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. So let's read the sentence. It says, during the aforementioned examination of the accounts undertaken by the internal auditor, the team evaluated the cumulative impact of individually immaterial items and in doing so relied on the assumption that it was appropriate to consider whether such impacts tended to offset one another or so, conversely to result in a combined cumulative effect in the same direction and hence to accumulate into a material amount. It may sound fun, but actually you will see such kind of a sentences we have seen in the report where जो 3 या 4 sentences होते हैं, sometimes we try to put all of them together. And it's very difficult to understand, maybe because you are writing the report, in your head when you are reading it, you are understanding, अच्छा ये जो मैंने लिखा है इसका मतलब ये है. But imagine if the third person is reading it. Can that person understand what you want to convey on? With that in mind, we must go back and writing this. So now coming to other than the observation, there are also risk, recommendation, the root cause, and the management comment that we write in the report. The common mistakes that we do when I talk about the risk, risk should be very specific risk. Even if it is a possibility, then add the word possibility. Don't say that there is a fraud which has happened in the company unless you are very sure that this is a risk. Otherwise, there's a possibility of the fraud because of this, or there's a possibility of leakages, the possibility of the blockage of the working capital because of this. So I will write the risk very, very, very clear. Most of the time in the report, we pay a lot of attention to the observation, but we may spend like 25 minutes in writing the observation, and in the next 5 minutes, I write the risk, root cause, recommendation, management comments, copy paste it from here or there, and close. So, equal importance should be given to these writing a risk, understanding how this can impact, because इनको मैनेजमेंट को समझ में आएगा ना इस प्रॉब्लम की ग्रीवनेस कितनी है या क्या हो सकता है बिकॉज ऑफ एंड व्हेन आई से recommendation, recommendation should be in line. Recommendation should not be in line with the risk. ये बहुत बारी मैंने रिपोर्ट में देखा है, द रिस्क है या मेरा इशू है और कुछ उनमें रिकमेंडेशन में बिल्कुल उसका उल्टा देंगे. जैसे मैंने इशू बनाया है दैट non-moving inventory is not reviewed. And risk मैंने कुछ लिखा है and मैंने then recommendation में लिख दिया non-moving inventory should be reviewed. It is not the opposite of your observation or the risk which you are trying to see. You need to give a very the focus should be to give something which is a value addition for the client जिसमें जाके वो action ले पाए. It should talk about how they can prevent that to happen. अगर ये हर बार ही हो रहा है और हर बार सर दर्द हो रहा है तो प्रिवेंशन क्या करना है? To take maybe this medicine in the morning for next some bad, or a very basic example. So similarly for the audit report, you may focus on the prevention कि ऐसे मेकर चेकर कंट्रोल डाल दिया जाए जिससे कि ये हुई ना, या इसको हर 30 days में at the month end should be reviewed by this person. So we don't have to keep it open. Or give a very precise and accurate recommendation where possible. Or the correction of the gaps which we have identified. And it should be very positive. Don't write a recommendation which is very hard-hitting for them and telling them this is not going right. And so be very positive when you are writing that. And be very specific, very clear what exactly should they implement. Who should act. And write it very briefly. You don't have to write pages of the recommendation. Write it very briefly, but they need to follow. So, I can give an example, maybe I think later, I can give example here. Let's say if I want to say the recommendation is, if you go back, on this page, in the end, if you look at the example, the incorrect way will be to give a recommendation saying the procurement team is to develop the procurement process and a stock. Or I say the head of the procurement department is to follow the procurement process. Or the head of the department should comply with the procurement process. It's very generic. But if I say the head of the department should enforce the procurement process in supplier selection, मैं बड़ा स्पेसिफिकली बता रहा हूँ कि प्रोक्योरमेंट प्रोसेस में गड़बड़ जहाँ पे हो रही है सप्लायर सिलेक्शन पे, बिकॉज मेरा इशू जो ऊपर था वो सप्लायर सिलेक्शन पे था. तो सप्लायर सिलेक्शन को वो एनफोर्स करे, और कौन करे? हेड ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट. आई कैन ऑल्सो से दे शुड रिव्यू एवरी 30 days सम 5 सैंपल्स. लेट्स से अगर मैं चाहता हूँ ऐसा करना जहाँ पे ऑडिट नहीं हो रहा, और आई वांट टू से द कि जो भी 5 लाख से ऊपर की वैल्यू आए वहाँ पे वो हेड ऑफिस से अप्रूव होना चाहिए. And that's the kind of the recommendation I want to give. So it should be very precise. Or you can say the limit needs to be fixed with the HO by this person. If you don't want to give the limit, you're not sure about the limit, but it should give us some value. Then talking about the management comment, the management comment should address the issue. वो बहुत बारी मैंने रिपोर्ट में ना मैनेजमेंट कमेंट्स देखें कि क्लाइंट कुछ भी लिख देता है एंड वी आर ओके विद इट. मेरी रिकमेंडेशन कुछ और है, मेरा इशू कुछ और है. नन ऑफ दीज थिंग्स आर टॉकिंग टू ईच अदर. मैं इशू में लिख रहा हूँ कुछ और, रिकमेंडेशन कुछ और, ऑडिटर कह रहा है मतलब उसने इसके बारे में बात ही नहीं करी, या आपने 5 चीजों के बारे में बात करी, ऑडिटर ने सिर्फ एक ही चीज पे कमेंट दिया. ऐसा बहुत बारी हुआ है. मतलब द रिपोर्ट्स आई एम श्योर यू हैव आल्सो कम अक्रॉस जहाँ पे you have given 3 recommendation, but the auditing has only talked about 1 recommendation, or is not even talking about the recommendation. Generally कह रहा है agree you will follow it, but वो ठीक है अगर if is understood the recommendation is clear. but अगर वो ऐसे कह रहे हैं, बहुत जेनरिक हो रहे हैं, बहुत डिफेंसिव हो रहा है, तो वहां पे अगर हमें लगता है हमें ऑडिटर्स कमेंट भी डाल देना चाहिए. इट इज वेरी क्लियर ही इज नॉट गिविंग अस द राइट रिकमेंडेशन, then or he's not agreeing, and you as an auditor feel very strongly कि ये तो होना ही चाहिए कंपनी में. But if the person is not agreeing, they are ready to take that risk. Write that in the auditor's comment, so that the management is aware that the process owner is okay to live with this risk. So whether management is okay or not, they need to take a risk. So it's very important like this. So this brings me to the end of today's training on the internal audit. And in the end, I'll say what do I need to do now after this training is to practice. So, we all know this saying, practice makes a man more perfect. Even women are laughingly, but everyone, it makes perfect only by practice. So this one session maybe can give you some directions to tell you where do we make mistakes. But you need to practice it very regularly to understand where I'm making mistakes. So I suggest 2 things that we can do in this week to improve our own internal audit report writing. Even if you are at 90% and there is a scope for 10% improvement, that 10% improvement will make you a better internal auditor who can present a more highly impactful internal audit report. So I suggest as an activity for this week that for next 1 week, if on daily basis, starting from tomorrow, if we can pick up any one observation and we can write that one observation daily and get it reviewed by your reporting person. If you're an article, you can give that one observation to your chartered accountant, the team leader who is working on the executive, senior executive, whosoever is there on the audit. If you are an executive or senior executive, you can send it to your manager. And if you are at the manager position, you can give it to me. For the next 1 week, what will happen? We will be able to, one, that you will also practice whatever we have learned today. Or you can practice this very clearly. You can practice, okay, I was making these mistakes. So very consciously, when you write a report, next time when you have to actually write a live report, you will remember those things. Otherwise, you will forget what you have learned in the training today. So please go back and pick up any ask. If you're an article, ask the executive to give you one audit observation which you would like to rephrase in your own work. They will give you they will give you some case study. Like I will float some case study tomorrow, and you can pick up that observation and try to write that down. That small audit observation. But what do you think? So we had tried this earlier, sometime back, but in that case study, maybe we can get some more details so that you can write a better audit observation. So we'll try. Otherwise, one thought was also that what we can do is, like if you're a manager, you can pick up the report of another manager or another audit. I'll pick up observation, and that is the report written in the style by that auditor. But you try to write in your own words and see, can you try to improvise? Or even if you want to write, pick up your own audit observation, which we have written in the past, and take up that audit observation and rewrite it. Remembering these points that we have discussed today, that you remember, okay, I used to make mistakes here. So now when I'm going to write this report, let me focus on this one thing. Huh? So in that, the more you practice and you get a personal feedback, you will see that you will be able to improve from one day to the other. So even if like you are able to do this for this 1 week, this will add a lot of value for you to improve your audit. And if you think you are going fine, you can do it only for 2 days. You can only do it for 3 days. But at least try to do it for 2 or 3 days. If your audit time is very stringent and you don't have much time that you can do it on a daily basis, at least do once in 3 days and send it to your person. Send it to your executive manager or director. The second thing I'll recommend and suggest is that you can also subscribe to this website, which is a knowledgereader.com. So this is by Productivity, but this has this has a lot of reports which they have written, and this is a collection of a lot of audit reports which are kept there. A lot of SOPs are also there on these. If you go to knowledgereader.com, it's like a 1 month free subscription you get. So you can use this for this 1 month where you can read different audit reports from this. And because the more you read somebody else's audit report, that also helps you to understand, okay, this is something really good this person has written. Maybe this is the way even I can try to write down. So, the more we read even each other's report, we read some of the good reports which are already written and are there on the intranet. So that can help you to improve what are the common mistakes we make. And sometimes, if you go to this knowledgereader.com, this can also give you different audits in different departments and the kind of observation they have found. So even when you're doing audit, this can give you an idea. अच्छा भाई मैं अपने audit में ये भी तो देख सकता हूँ. This is something which I've never seen. Maybe I can even look at this way, this picture. I never thought like this. So, a lot of SOPs are also there. A lot of things which are readily available are there. So this is a good resource for you to go back and you can refer to these reports on this knowledgereader.com. So with this, I think I come to the end of today's training. Thank you so much, all of you.
Sir, please, sir. I think it's leader, not leader.
On the
पर आपको leader
reader,
या reader या leader
reader, READER. रीडर जो पढ़ते हैं, नॉलेज को पढ़ने वाला, ठीक है, knowledgereader.com. So you can refer to this. This will be helpful because this has a lot of reports. And 1 महीने बाद अगर आपका सब्सक्रिप्शन फ्री वाला खत्म भी हो जाता है, आप किसी और ईमेल आईडी से दोबारा उसका 1 month का फ्री सब्सक्रिप्शन भी ले सकते हो. If you have not finished and you want to read more or you want to refer to, इसमें काफी RCMs भी है. A lot of RCMs are there. A lot of industry का data is also there. Different industry में की जो reports and they are also there. So it's a good platform where you can find a lot of resources for your own development also, for you to read and understand the work of other people also. So you can definitely go back and refer to this. Okay. So please you go back to this knowledge reader. You want to use the mind map. You can refer to the mind map. You can also use this tool which I gave you, the prowritingaid.com. जहाँ पे आप जाके अपनी राइटिंग्स को इम्प्रूव कर सकते हो, कहाँ आप पे गलती करो चेक कर सकते हो. So all these tools I have researched and I personally used and I know they are working fine. So that's why I'm recommending it to you. This can really help you to really improve the way you are writing the reports, and otherwise we are doing the audit. So we have 6 minutes before it becomes 6:30. So anyone has any question, we can take up any question.
Arun, one thing, ये actually leader आ रहा है, knowledge leader है, it's not a reader.
अच्छा, तो वहाँ पे फिर गलती है.
हाँ, ये I think productivity का है ना ये?
हाँ, productivity का knowledge leader है.
Leader है वो.
Leader. Okay.
हाँ जी.
I think that's a spelling error. Okay. ठीक है. So knowledgereader.com where we can research. Anything else anybody wants to ask, discuss? Any of your experience of the report which we have learned? मैं हमेशा ये गलती करता था रिपोर्ट में, but today I have understood, okay, I can improve on this area, or I can improve on this area.
Hello. Hi, sir.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. सर करंटली आई एम डूइंग MSFL Q2, तो मैं प्रोक्योरमेंट और इन्वेंट्री मैनेजमेंट देख रही थी। तो मुझे एक पॉइंट में, जब मैं पॉइंट ड्राफ्ट करी तो मुझे इशू आ रहा था। तो हमारा उसमें जो हमारा पॉइंट था, उसमें हमारा मेन ऑब्जर्वेशन ये थी कि जो रॉ मटेरियल की प्लानिंग है, उसमें थोड़ा इम्प्रूवमेंट चाहिए होता था, क्योंकि उनका काफ़ी स्टॉक ऐसा होता था, मतलब वो एक्सेस प्रोक्योरमेंट कर लेते थे और फिर भी वो इशू नहीं होता था और ऐसे ही मतलब स्टोर में पड़ा रहता था वो स्टॉक। ओके, और मतलब ऐसा भी होता था कि ओपनिंग स्टॉक सफिशिएंट है और उतना कंजम्पशन भी नहीं हो पा रहा, और ये भी इशूज़ थे कि 180 डेज से काफ़ी ज़्यादा एक्सेस स्टॉक पड़ा हुआ था। ठीक है, तो उस पे हमारी ऑब्जर्वेशन थी, तो उसको हमें समझ नहीं आता कैसे ड्राफ्ट करें, बिकॉज़ जो परचेज़ टीम थी, दे आर सेइंग कि जो उनका प्रोक्योरमेंट प्लानिंग होती है वो सेल्स फोरकास्ट के बेसिस पे होती है। तो सेल्स फोरकास्ट जो है चेंज होता रहता है, तो वो इस बेसिस पे अपना स्टॉक डिराइव नहीं कर पाते, और वो कितना लेवल, मतलब उनका कुछ स्टॉक लेवल डिफाइन नहीं है कि हमें इतना लेवल मेंटेन करना है। और उनसे ऐसे हमने अपना वाइवा एनालिसिस भी किया था, ऐसा क्यों होता है, तो दे वर सेइंग कि ये इंडस्ट्री का नेचर ही ऐसा है, इस वजह से वी कांट डिसाइड द स्टॉक लेवल। तो इंडस्ट्री वाइड भी हमें यही इशू, मतलब हर इंडस्ट्री का यही चीज़ है। तो इसमें हम मतलब से वो सेल्स फोरकास्ट के बेसिस पे अगर करते हैं, तो इसमें हम मतलब क्या ड्राफ्ट कर सकते हैं इस ऑब्जर्वेशन।
ठीक है। तो देखो हमें ना फैक्ट मेंशन करने होते कि आपको क्या ऑब्जर्वेशन मिला, ठीक है, आपने क्या नोट करा, तो एक होता है उसका कॉज क्या है। रूट कॉज था कि वो सेल्स की प्रॉब्लम थी फोरकास्ट की, बट इशू तो आपका था कि वो मूव नहीं हो रही, इन्वेंट्री या 180 डेज से ऊपर नहीं आ रहा। सो यू स्टेट द इश्यूज, यू स्टेट द फैक्ट, एंड देन उसे जो हमने डिस्कशन किया या उसका रूट कॉज ही निकला, तो हमारी रिकमेंडेशन है इसको ठीक कर, बट you have to state the facts and
सर हेलो। सर आशा ने जो बोला उसमें और थोड़ा ऐड ऑन करना चाहूँगा। जैसे अभी मतलब वी हैव मेंशन द सेम रूट कॉज, बट सर उनकी रिकमेंडेशन ये जो हम रिकमेंडेशन दे रहे हैं, तो दे आर सेइंग दैट इन दिस इंडस्ट्री सेल प्लान वर्सेस एक्चुअल वेरिएशन करता ही है, सो मतलब दे कैन नॉट कंट्रोल दैट।
राइट।
सो वी वर स्टक कि हम इस पे मतलब लास्ट टाइम भी लास्ट ईयर भी सेम रूट कॉज हुआ था, तो ऑडिट कमेटी में भी डिस्कशन हुआ था इस ऑब्जर्वेशन में, मतलब सो दे आर सेइंग कि ये इंडस्ट्री का नेचर है, एंड दिस टाइम आल्सो ड्यू टू पैंडेमिक मतलब इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू प्रेडिक्ट।
सो देखो ये सिर्फ यहाँ का इशू नहीं है, ये हर कंपनी में ही होता है। इनफैक्ट आज मैं मेगा के साथ इंडियानिका पर रिव्यू कर रहा था, तो वहाँ पे भी हम यही डिस्कस कर रहे थे सेम चीज की, वहाँ पे सेल का फोरकास्ट कुछ था और एक्चुअल में परचेज कुछ और होता है, प्रोडक्शन कुछ और होता है। सो यू नो ये हर जगह इशू था, बट पॉइंट इज कि वेरिएशन कितना इज इट 5%, 10%, 20%, 50%? सो वेरिएशन क्या है वो इम्पोर्टेंट है। मतलब क्लाइंट तो लिख देगा कि अच्छा ये तो स्टैंडर्ड है इंडस्ट्री का, बट इंडस्ट्री प्रैक्टिसेस में भी परसेंटेजेस होते हैं कि जैसे वेस्टेजेस भी होते हैं। सो मे बी 2% इज द इंडस्ट्री स्टैंडर्ड या 1% इज द इंडस्ट्री स्टैंडर्ड। सो अगर वो जेनरिक भी बोलते हैं कि इंडस्ट्रीज में होता ही है, वो तो सही बोल रहे हैं अपनी जगह, बट रियल क्वेश्चन इज कि वो जितना परसेंटेज है क्या वो इंडस्ट्री स्टैंडर्ड के हिसाब से है या नहीं। सो अगर सिमिलर इंडस्ट्री पे आप कंपेयर कर सकते हो हमारे किसी और क्लाइंट से या फिर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंडस्ट्री से देखकर, सो देन यू कैन गो बैक टू द क्लाइंट एंड टेल देम। बट यू नो अगेन जो अभी मैं बता रहा हूँ थोड़ा जेनरिक हो सकता है, इट्स अ वेरी स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन, मे बी विल हैव टू गो इनटू द डेप्थ। जो आप पूछ रहे हो तो हम 1-to-1 भी डिस्कस कर सकते हैं, बट व्हाट आई वांट टू कन्वे इज कि जो क्लाइंट कह रहा है वो कई बार गोलीबाजी भी देगा। हाँ, सो आपको दोबारा क्वेश्चन करना चाहिए उसके पॉइंट पे भी, जब उसके साथ डिस्कस करो, और अगर वो नहीं चेंज करना चाहता है, यू आर वेरी क्लियर, देन यू राइट अ ऑडिटर्स फॉर्म कि वी फील ओके दिस इज स्टिल on a higher side, even though this may be the practice or this may be happening in the industry, but our view is that this is on the higher side and they should look into it.
और सर इसमें एक चीज़ और, इसमें फिर हम रूट कॉज में क्या लिखेंगे? अब इतना सेल्स और एक्चुअल बजटेड बजट और एक्चुअल में वेरिएंस होता है, तो व्हाट इज द रूट कॉज इन दिस? तो ये थोड़ा समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि किस तरीके से इसको रूट कॉज में भी लिखा जाए।
Go into the depth कि वो इतना वेरिएशन आता क्यों है, सेल्स वाले लोगों से पूछो। मैंने बोला ना भी 5 times buy, so go into the depth कि इतना वेरिएशन आता है क्यों। जैसे आज मैं मेगा के साथ ही डिस्कस कर रहा था, तो दैट एग्जाम्पल, उसने ये बोला कि वेरिएशन आता है, तो मैंने बोला कि ये क्यों आया? उसने बोला कि वो सेल्स की जो लोग है वो अपना बजट बहुत लेट बनाते हैं, और जो स्टैंडर्ड बुक्स है उसको ऑर्डर में पहले ही देते थे प्रोडक्शन में, अभी उन्होंने अपना सेल्स का बजट बनाया भी नहीं। तो हम एक लेवल और नीचे आ गए, समझे कि वो प्रॉब्लम क्या करते हैं, वो पहले ही ऑर्डर दे देते हैं बजट से भी पहले। बजट लेट बजट लेट क्यों बनाओ? बजट लेट बना रहे हैं तो उसको टाइमलाइन भी नहीं दी हुई, या फिर या कोई और रीजन है, कोई इसको रिव्यू नहीं कर रहा, कोई डिमांड ही नहीं कर रहा कि इस डेट तक आपको खींचना है, या कोई फॉलो अप ही नहीं कर रहा कि इस डेट तक बजट मिलना। सो यू कैन गो टू द डेप्थ ऑफ द रूट कॉज टू डिस्कस विद द क्लाइंट, ताकि
सर एक चीज़ और थी इसमें से, फिर ऐसे तो ये सेल्स का ऑडिट हो जाएगा। इफ़ वी आर डूइंग प्रोक्योरमेंट तो वो फिर हमारा स्कोप क्वेश्चन करते हैं कि व्हाई आर यू गोइंग दिस, व्हाई आर यू गोइंग इनटू दिस, एंड व्हाई आर यू आस्किंग फॉर दिस डेटा, व्हाई आर यू
एग्जैक्टली
बिल्कुल। देखो वही बात है, यहाँ पे जैसे हम इंडियानिका में भी एक ही वो कर रहे हैं, डूइंग सेल्स का, ठीक है, तभी हमने बोला कि वी आर नॉट गोइंग इनटू द डेप्थ ऑफ दैट, बट आपकी रिकमेंडेशन ये तो हो सकती है कि वो दैट दिस पर्सन को एनालिसिस करके ये रूट कॉज आइडेंटिफाई करना चाहिए कि हर बार ये गैप क्यों आ रहा है सेल्स में इतना, या आप वो ट्रेंड देखो कि पिछले 5 साल में कितना कितना गैप आ रहा है, ठीक है। You cannot do that analysis because if you are not doing a sales audit, but when you do the sales audit in that 1 year, तब आप वो चीज को पकड़ सकते हैं कि जब हमने वो प्रोक्योरमेंट में देखा था, and then you can link those observation also. But again ऐसे देखो, ये ना क्लाइंट बाय क्लाइंट भी वेरी करेगा, एंड ये रिपोर्ट बाय रिपोर्ट भी वेरी करेगा। कई लोग चाहेंगे कि आप उसके बताओ, आपसे मैनेजमेंट भी एक्सपेक्ट करेगा कि आप ये बताओ, ये तो बहुत गड़बड़ की बात है, या वही आगे सेल्स वाले लोगों को बुला के पूछ लेगा। So yeah, there can be different combinations or different situations and scenarios, जैसे आप बता रहे हो, ऐसे बहुत सारे हो सकते हैं, बट so I think केस बाय केस हम डिस्कस कर सकते हैं। मतलब अभी because this presentation is about giving a generic idea to everyone, and because ये अगर very specific to a client का क्वेश्चन डिस्कस करते हैं, so this can go into another tangent and not everyone will be able to relate to it. But I hope you got some idea about it. Harshal, is that okay? Subha?
ओके सर, थैंक यू।
Sir, I think Mega ma'am was asking. मतलब Mega ma'am थी conversation.
हाँ ठीक है। So I think then it's already time, so we can close the session today. But you still, if you have any suggestions, if you have any questions regarding the internal audit report, you can write a personal email to me, and I can reply back to you. Or we can plan a call. If you have any question, you can also call me personally. We can line up a time and we can discuss that one-on-one. But only thing in the end, I'll say it is only practice. There's never an end to the improvement that we can. Even if you think you are doing good in writing the report, find out one small thing that you can improve and start working on improving that. So let's really write an impeccable report. So again, your reputation is decided by your report. So take it seriously. So all the best, all of you, and thank you for coming today. So I'll send you this report also, this presentation. I'll ask, maybe email you this presentation. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.